Welcome everyone to the final installment in our four-part interview series, showcasing SVCA's 2021 award winners. For today's interview, we are very honored to have with us Ms. Hemal Mirani, Managing Director of HarbourVest Partners, who will be interviewing Mr. Soo Jin Goh, Managing Director and Head of Asia for Platinum Equity, for its investment and successful exit from Compart Systems, thus winning them PE Exit of the Year. Let me quickly introduce our guests today. Hemal rejoined HarbourVest's senior management team in Asia in 2015 to focus on investments and investor relations across the APAC region. She first joined HarbourVest in 1997 and spent 11 years developing relationships with leading Asian private equity partners and working with investors and consultants across the region to advance and optimize their private market investment programs. She joined HarbourVest after 6 years with CVC Capital Partners in Hong Kong, where she was Head of Investor Relations in Asia and Chief Administrative Officer. And we have Soo Jin with us, who joined Platinum Equity and started their Asia practice in 2013. Today, he leads the M&A team in Asia. Prior to joining Platinum Equity, he was a director at Standard Chartered Private Equity and was responsible for deal origination, structuring, execution, and portfolio management in Southeast Asia. Prior to that, Soo Jin was based in Shanghai as a CEO and executive board member of Global Mart Limited, a leading hypermarket and supermarket chain in central China. He also previously worked for Babcock & Brown, Kearney, Temasek Holdings, and Goldman Sachs. So without further ado, I will let Hemal take it from here.
Great. Thank you very much. Sylvia, I should thank you and the SVCA team for making me feel so welcome in Singapore, not just to be part of the awards over here, but to give out what I think is one of the best awards, which is the Exit Award. So thank you very much for that. So Soo Jin, congratulations on winning Exit of the Year. And for those that are watching and don't know, Platinum has also won another award this year, which was Resilience Award. So, it's been a great year for you, Soo Jin, and your team. So I thought what would be great is, for many of those watching who may not be very familiar with Platinum Equity, can you give us a little bit of your focus areas and where you spend your time and the kind of companies that interest you?
Sure, I'm very happy to do so. So thank you, number one, for having me here today. So I think a short introduction about Platinum. We are essentially a global private equity house. Today we have around $25 billion of asset under management, and we invest out of one global fund. Today we are at Fund 5, which is a $10 billion fund, and our focus here in Asia is similar to that of that we have globally. We are sector agnostic. We only do control deals. And the reason for that is because, we truly believe that we can value add to businesses through some of our internal operational capabilities, which is why there's this tagline about, M&A and O, which really stands for merger, acquisitions, and operations, but really with a huge emphasis on operational improvement. And, we see our role here really as transforming companies from good to great. And I think that, the fact that we have got a deep pool of operational professionals within Platinum itself, both in the US, in Europe, as well as here in Asia, that we are able to transfer, some of our expertise, knowledge, and experience for the benefits of the portfolio companies that we invest in.
Great, thank you for that. So, Sylvia introduced you and gave you a background, and I am very impressed at the amount of time you've spent in private equity, and you've obviously been in the region. Just a few words on the development of private equity in Southeast Asia and the kind of opportunities that you have seen over that career before we get to the company for which you won an award.
Yeah, I think it is an evolving industry and a very exciting one. I think, really gone are the days where you buy low, sell high, you leverage up. It doesn't mean that you don't do any of that, but I think that increasingly we have got increasingly sophisticated sellers, as well as a very, very competitive private equity market here in Southeast Asia. the pool of capital is huge. There's never a situation where you heard sellers saying that, look, there's not enough capital in the market. But I think what would really differentiate and which often gets appreciated by the market is really your ability to value add to the companies that you invest in. Whether or not it's a minority investment or a control deal, more so. I think the ability to differentiate and not just to demonstrate, but really to make it happen is what is going to distinguish, one firm from the other. And I think increasingly that's where the market is going to evolve to, the ability to truly value add, to any companies that you invest in.
Great, thank you for that. So maybe we should now move to this exciting company. Tell us a little bit about the company, how you identified it and acquired the asset.
Right. So, Compart is a business that manufacture mass flow control device for the semiconductor industry. The device essentially goes into the gas chamber of semiconductor capital equipments manufactured by the likes of Applied Materials and Lam Research. Compart used to be a division under the Singapore company called Broadway Industrial Group. It's listed on the Singapore Stock Exchange. And what we have uncovered was that it seems to be an orphan asset where it's being forgotten only because it is not a big revenue driver for the listco. The listco was more keen on investing in the hard disk drive business, which is huge. But we saw it a little bit differently. We were actually not excited about the hard disk drive industry. We felt that that could potentially be sunset. And bear in mind, this was an investment that we did back in 2016. But we felt that the semiconductor value chain, and more importantly, the stickiness and the reliance that customer have with respect to Compart was of significant interest to us. And as a result of which, we reach out to the board. The chairman is Mr. Liu Sempao. He happens to be a friend of mine. We took 18 months to convince Sempao that, look, we would like to buy over certain divisions of the business. We were not willing to buy over the entirety. That wasn't an easy proposition. He wanted to sell us as a whole. But in the end, we managed to convince him and really shared with him what we are trying to do with the business, which is we believe that we are the right owners for it because, we can really take it forward. We will be able to value add. We see a lot of opportunities from a bolt-on acquisition perspective, from, investments into additional CapEx to meet the capacity requirements, as well as really transforming the company into more R&D focus. Sempao was convinced by our ability to value it and, ultimately decided to go ahead with the transaction with us.
Great. So thank you for that. So, you described some of the key initiatives that you had identified in terms of value creation. And, in many cases in private equity, right, lots of ideas, but focusing on the 2 or 3 that can have the biggest impact in a short period of time become quite important. So without giving all your secrets away, what can you share with us about the 2 or 3 things that really made a difference in terms of value creation for the company?
Yeah, I would say really 3 things. Number one, we really transformed Compart from a traditional manufacturing company into a technology-led enterprise that provides solutions to its customers. And how do we go about doing that? Besides internal R&D, we went ahead to acquire intellectual properties that we do not used to have. We used to rely on intellectual properties developed by other people, but in this instance, we decided that an investment into the intellectual property and really translating the IP into an actual product is what's going to really fundamentally change the DNA of the business. We were fortunate to identify the intellectual property. We were fortunate that we have got in-house R&D to really convert the IP into an actual product. within a very short span of time. And we were fortunate that the management, both from the most senior level to the middle management, are able to share a common vision as we have. So I think the transformation, really changed the DNA. The second one was really, increasing of capacity as well as diversifying our capacity. Compart used to have a single site, over in Shenzhen. And if you recall back during the Trump era, there has been a lot of US-China, trade dispute, tariffs. It wasn't an easy moment. And there were questions as to the sustainability of continuing our business within China itself. Being the single site, you do not know when is the next presidential decree that will come from the US, or how the Chinese are going to react to certain geopolitical actions. We felt from a very early stage that there's a need not just to invest in CAPEX, but really to invest into CAPEX in another jurisdiction. Malaysia came up as to be the most ideal site because of the semiconductor ecosystem that exists over there. And instead of taking time to go through a greenfield investment, we were very fortunate to identify a bolt-on acquisition in the form of Alpha Precision that immediately gave us the additional capacity that we need. And we are able to leverage, the knowledge, the clean room technology that we have over in China into Malaysia. So that really helps to accelerate our growth. The third aspect really is what I call a go-to-market strategy. We actually help Compart management have the confidence to negotiate with some of the customers which are significantly bigger than them. You are talking about customers like the likes of Applied Materials, Lam Research, iCore, which can be 10, 20 times larger than you. And as a small supplier, you may not fully appreciate the amount of value add or the amount of leverage that you would have. We give management the confidence to really go ahead to negotiate a win-win solution. So from a PO-driven company, we end up having a master service agreement with some of our top customers over the course of 5 years with rates which are a lot more favorable than what it used to be before.
Great. Sounds like it was quite a journey, Soo Jin. So can I just ask that for Platinum in Southeast Asia or markets that you cover, how large is the team and resources that you need when you think about all the roles that you want to play with the companies that you own?
Yeah, today we have got 8 people within Platinum's balance sheet. They are made up of both deal professionals like myself, but with half of them really in an operational role. And in addition to the 8 people that's on Platinum's balance sheet, we easily have got another 6 operational professionals that we actually put them into the balance sheet of our portfolio companies.
That has got to be, tremendous leverage for you and your team, is you have to report back in terms of growth of the business.
That is correct. That is correct.
Now, Soo Jin, one thing that I am particularly interested in is that we've all had a very difficult environment over a period of time in terms of operating in, and you've managed to pull off an exit. So, talk us into sort of what were the preparations you had to do for these unusual circumstances in terms of due diligence, having people on site, everything cannot be done on Zoom. And still you managed to pull off a great exit. So, tell us a little bit about what it took to get that exit completed.
Yep. I think we started preparation for the Compart exit at the beginning of 2020. And that unfortunately was also the beginning of COVID-19. And we were in a dilemma at that point in time as to, do we go ahead or do we pause? We are at, I'll just say, slightly north of 3 years of our investment horizon in Compart. And the reality is that none of us know when COVID will end. And we ask ourselves, given a lack of visibility, what is it that we can control? We cannot control COVID, but we can control a deal process. And that's when we set upon to say, look, let's make it happen. The semiconductor market continues to be strong, so the industry is healthy. All the value creation initiative that we have set forth since day one has materialized. We had our IP acquisition, we have our bolt-on acquisitions, and we have got new contracts all signed up, with our key customers. So we're in the right place, right time, except for COVID. So right from the very start, we try to look for solutions that will come about due to COVID. These are typically logistical challenges, the inability to travel, the inability to conduct site visits, and more fundamentally, the challenges in terms of having bidders to build personal relationship with management. I don't suppose we have done the best job, but I think the use of videos, we have countless videos, really going through the entire manufacturing process, highlighting some of the key competencies of the companies, communicating our value creation, as well as some of the unique selling points of the business, and really to give serious bidder more than the usual access that we typically provide to management, because we recognize that the management is not just here to explain the business to you, give you confidence, but we appreciate and understand that bidders really want to forge a relationship. And short of putting your arms around management, which is not possible, we give them more time over Zoom. And to that extent, there were multiple conversations that we said, you know what, we don't need to be around. Speak freely, be open, build a relationship, because at the end of the day, bidder needs to underwrite management's projections. And we felt that sometimes less is more, and we actually took a back step.
Yeah, sounds like that was quite a winning strategy as well, Soo Jin. So, when you think about the exit that you have achieved, I'll just ask you this in a simple way. Did it meet your expectations when you underwrote the deal? You don't have to go into numbers, but just when you think of what you thought you would do and where you ultimately came out, did it feel like all that hard work paid off in a way that you wanted?
I think for sure, that's probably an understatement. We're not here to get VC returns. Very often, if you get a 3 times cash on cash, we feel very happy. But this is one of those investments that certainly went way beyond that. We more than doubled our revenue. We quadrupled our EBITDA.
Wow.
And our exit multiple was in the double digit, vis-a-vis a mid-single digit that we entered. So I think if you work out the math, it more than exceeded our typical expectation of an exit. So I would say that the team is elated with the result. And it is really a validation of all the hard work that they have put in, both to the Compart management team as well as the Platinum team that's invested significant, sweat and blood into this investment.
That's great. Again, congratulations. So if I can end with one last question, Soo Jin, you've been in private equity a long time. We have probably a lot of people who are going to watch this video that are building careers in private equity, that have aspirations. If you had to give one piece of advice to them as they look to build their career in private equity, what would you tell them?
Have intellectual curiosity, ask questions, be very open.
Yeah, that is really great advice, in terms of being interested and frankly speaking, making the most of the industry that you are in, because if you don't enjoy it, then what is the point for all of that? So, with that, I'm going to say thank you very much for your time. I've enjoyed my conversation with you. And again, congratulations on the award.
Thanks very much, Hemal.
A big thank you to Hemal and Soo Jin for sharing your invaluable insights with our audience. We have come to the end of this 4-part series. If you haven't watched our previous episodes, they will be available on demand on our website at svca.org.sg after the broadcast. I hope you found this interview beneficial, and we hope to see you very soon at our next event. Take care and goodbye.
Bye.